Good morning. Welcome to Market Monday. Well, as September equinox arrives this Saturday, marking the official start of the fall, the media is focused on this Wednesday's Fed meeting, where it's widely expected to leave rates unchanged. This is, of course, on the heels of last week's CPI inflation release that showed headline inflation actually increasing again to 3.7% from a low of 3% 2 months ago. Should we sound the alarm that runaway inflation is back? Here's year-end inflation in royal blue here. Obviously, the trip up to the peak, over 9% in 2022 here, the steady decline back down to planet Earth here. And if you zoom way in, you can see this tiny little uptick right here is the most recent reading. So no need to panic. And of course, this Dijon color is just the last 6 months if price changes. And light blue is just the last 3 months. So these are quicker to reflect price changes both up, like in 2021, and down for the past year. But as we know, not all inflation is created equal. Here's a look at June's inflation, which had the most recent lowest reading of 3% versus August. It looks like these sharp decreases in gas and oil did most of the heavy lifting to bring the overall inflation reading down. Unfortunately, gas and oil have come back up recently, which here is the main reason for the increase in overall inflation. But what's been sticky? Transportation has been high. Things like auto repair, car rental, auto insurance, public transportation, airfares. But that's less than 6% of the overall CPI. The heavy hitter is right here, shelter. Shelter is almost 35% of the total CPI reading. My goodness, still over 7%. So what gives? To see just how big of an impact shelter has on inflation, here we have services inflation in blue. Services includes transportation, medical care, and so forth. And in red, we have services without shelter included. That takes you from 5% to 3% services inflation. We've looked at this before. Here's green and yellow, representing almost 35% of the entire CPI reading, showing rent inflation just barely starting to roll over. And here we have the apartment list index, which is much more real time, having gone negative in August. Still, not convinced? Here's real-page apartment rent asking prices in red, compared to CPI rent in green, showing a 12-month lag between the peak in real-time prices, the peak in official rent inflation. Still not convinced? Here's Redfin's August rental market report, and here's Zillow's. All this is to say we believe shelter, that 35% weighting in CPI, will slowly begin to help lower inflation readings in the months ahead, and maybe the years ahead. That's it for today. Enjoy the last week of summer, and we'll see you next week.